Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the dictionary, the definition of an anti-hero is a narrative protagonist who is defined by their own self-interest. The anti-hero often feels rejected by society and veers down a self-destructive path that results in isolation or death. Nice. Whether in comedy or drama, the TV anti-hero comes in many guises. Some have made us laugh, some made us cry, and some to even scream at the small screen. Here's our own hero of our own hero, own our own hero. Neil, with 10 TV anti-hero facts.
Thank you very much, Pav. So, one of the most iconic images of Walter White Heisenberg from Breaking Bad is his hat. But this has only become a thing when Bryan Cranston wore it to stop his newly shaved head from getting sunburnt.
I drink and I know things.
Actor James Gandolfini wanted to portray Tony Soprano with genuine anger and annoyance, so he would, in some scenes, insert a small stone into his shoe. This would cause just enough irritation for him to build upon when creating Tony's rage.
And people say she's just a big pair of tits.
Did you notice in The Wire that Omar Little never cussed? This was all part of his character and intentional.
I'm Dexter, and I'm not sure what I am.
Don Draper owes a debt of gratitude to Ted Danson. Mad Men creator Matthew Weiner came up with the idea while writing Danson's sitcom Becca.
'Cause the big bad is back.
Jason Bateman, who plays Marty Bird in the show Ozark, was originally signed up to direct the entire first season. However, scheduling conflicts meant he only directed the first two and last two episodes.
That was me. Using magic to dry my clothes.
Michael C. Hall wasn't interested in making another TV show when Dexter came along.
Oh, I'm on the spectrum.
And the Mandalorian TV show cost a whopping $13 million per 30-minute episode.
This is the way.
Perfect timing.
Kenny Powers, the series protagonist from Eastbound and Down, is the name of a real-life American stuntman who attempted to jump a portion of the St. Lawrence River in a rocket-propelled Lincoln Continental.
I am the one who knocks.
And each one of Rick Sanchez's characteristic burps is a real burp.
Oh, he'll be back, like the shit Terminator.
And House is very much based on Arthur Conan Doyle's protagonist Sherlock Holmes. House's apartment number is 221B, a tribute to Sherlock Holmes' famous London address, 221B Baker Street.
And then it's dysfunction this, and dysfunction that, and dysfunction my fungal.
Is that your 10?
That's it.
Wonderful. So here we are. We're talking all things anti-heroes. So who better to have with us than Stig from Modern Escapism. Hello. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're looking forward to this one. First question I'm going to ask both of you, although I put what the definition of an anti-hero is in the introduction. Stig, what's your definition of a TV anti-hero?
Somewhere in the middle ground. It's a bit grey. So whilst they have hero tendencies, they aren't squeaky clean. So yeah, I'll touch on them with some of them I've picked, but yeah, they're very much like they are presented as a hero, but they do bad things, but we love them for it, weirdly.
Yeah. Neil?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I was just looking at the sort of person, probably even a bad guy that does a hero thing as well. You know, you're rooting for them even though they're doing wrong. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, because the way I was looking at it also is you got somebody that starts a particular series or TV program either good or bad, and their arc makes them the opposite of where they started as well. So some people that have got bad intentions finish off with good intentions, and vice versa. So I've got a few that are like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how many duplicates we get in this one. Whether everybody's gone down the same kind of route, or whether not. Before we do that, Stig, tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Modern Escapism. We've kind of become a bit of a network now, really, because we've expanded into 3 different podcasts between us. So Modern Escapism is just a bit of a pop culture, nerd culture show. We review pop culture news every week. Then we review things that we've been up to. So video games, TV, film, books, whatever we've been up to. Then we have a bit of a fun feature. And we also, since doing that, started a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, which is a player podcast. And one of our members as well has just started a little interview show. It's about 30 to 40 minutes. He asks the same 10 questions of the guests. And they've been really good. I've got to listen to them behind the scenes before they've come out yet. So it's really interesting hearing the varied answers you get from people. But yeah.
And what sort of guests do you have on that one?
Just mainly other podcasters and friends and stuff on that one. You could guys go on if you'd like. I'm sure you'd be happy.
Why not? I mean, we're doing this at the moment. I mean, we're a little bit busy, but that'd be lovely. Yeah. So we'll put the link in the show notes for the podcast. So everyone, please go and have a little listen to that. Right. Let's get into the main meat of the show. So we'll start with you, Stig. What's your number 10 TV anti-hero?
So my number 10 is Ragnar Lothbrok from Vikings.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, so this is a bit out. I kind of threw this one in last minute. It was teetering on there, and I thought, you know what? No, I think he's a really good anti-hero because obviously he's based on a real-life Viking who was one of the first to explore places like France and England. But I think what makes him a good anti-hero is that he's a really complex character, and he clearly does hero things, but he's a Viking at the end of the day, and we kind of know what Vikings do or did. You know, a lot of raiding, pillaging, killing, and sacking of lands. But the show presents him as a hero. He's a hero for his people. He's worshipped by the people in Connecticut. He's revered throughout Norway. That's how the show presents him to us. It does a very good job of, he's leading armies into England and France, but the show does a very good job of showing other Vikings doing the bad stuff and never presenting him doing that. But at the center of it, he's in charge. He's the man that's driving his people to go and do that. And I just think that he's a real great, like I said before, he's a character that you love to get behind and you love to see succeed, because the French and the British, they're seen as the bad guys in Vikings. And Ragnar's the hero, but he isn't really. He's doing bad things to innocent people for personal gain at the end of the day.
To be fair, we said this during the movie villain, or the TV villain episode, is that a good villain is somebody that, from their point of view, they're doing the right thing. They don't think they're a villain with what they're doing. They're doing what they believe in. See, the one thing with Vikings, I think I watched the first series and thought it was really good, and I don't understand why I never carried it on. How many series has there been now?
I think there is 6 or 7, and now there's a spin-off one which is set about 100 years down the line.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, the show does like a time jump, so you kind of, his sons, who are kids within, I think, season 3, by the time season 4 they're like grown adults, so it skips a lot.
Yeah, it's a show I've never seen. Is it? Somebody told me it's really, I should watch it because I might enjoy it. It's quite brutal.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of really good, considering it came out around the same time of Game of Thrones. It was doing a lot until Game of Thrones got all the money. It was doing better things with battle scenes and stuff like that. You actually got to see them, and huge, Viking wars happening. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I need to pick that back up, because is that on Netflix? Is it Netflix that it was on?
It was. I don't know if it is anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's on Prime now.
It might be on Prime.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one to start off with. Go on then, Neil. You're number 10.
So it's just a good old classic Buffy, and it's Spike from Buffy.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Well, this is a real villain that turned into a semi-good guy, I suppose. Now, I rewatched Buffy in the lockdown. I didn't get through all of the series because there's a lot to watch, but I did get quite a way in. And when I first watched Buffy, I found Spike, I thought he was an appalling actor. I always felt the English accent was really ropey, but watching it back now, I really sort of enjoyed it more. And it's very, very pantomime villain is what he is, and enjoy it. And I think he gets a lot of the best lines in the series. Not to say it, also to say he gets with Buffy herself. Are you a fan of Buffy, both of you?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
I used to watch it because my wife was mad on Buffy, and then obviously after that, Angel. So I sort of watched it by proxy, kind of thing.
I was really surprised how well it held up, because obviously it was the 90s when it first came out, wasn't it? And I thought, I didn't think it dated too bad. Apart from the first series, if you go back and watch it, it's very dark. It's hard to see some of the things, even with the new TVs and everything. It was very dark. But Spike, I think, was a great character. We talked about arcs. That was a perfect example of him being the arc of being the real bad guy from series 2 through, and then slowly becoming, well, the anti-hero of the piece, wasn't he?
What happened to him at the end of Buffy?
Didn't he go off to Angel? To the series?
They made the loads of them move back and forth, and I can't remember, because I did similar to you. Several years ago, we started a rewatch, and for some reason, I think we just burnt out on it, because we were every night it was like, oh, we'll have a couple of episodes, and then eventually we got to the latter series, and we just kind of drifted off and never finished it again.
But that was in the days. That was in the days of like 22, 24 episodes a season, wasn't it? Where they don't do that anymore.
No.
Like, sort of the Americans have followed the sort of British thing of 6 to maybe 10 episodes in the season. Yeah, because I think we've still got them all on DVD up in the loft, and they were like just big thick books of
they really are. They're a good 45-minute, 50-minute episodes as well. Yeah. But some great episodes out there, and I would say anybody that's never watched it, I would recommend delving in and seeing a bit of that. Especially, I know we really shouldn't talk about him much, but Joss Whedon, when he was in his prime, doing great things. Yeah,
and also one of the greatest musical episodes of TV ever, with that Once More with Feeling, was just some great songs. And Spike had one of the best songs in that as well. Okay, my number 10 is a comedy character that we've known throughout the ages and centuries. It's Edmund Blackadder.
Oh,
it's my number 9.
Yeah. Is that your number 9?
Yep.
Okay, we've got one already. That's good. Mainly for the fact that, I mean, he's pretty much a shit all the way through
apart from the first series, though, isn't he?
He was an idiot in the first series, wasn't he? But he still wanted. He got to the point where he wanted power, didn't he? And he was going to lie and be deceitful no matter what. So he was like that all the way through, even the Christmas special, where he starts off as a good person, but then realizes being good is no good to anybody. So you might as well just be a shit and be nasty to people, and you get more out of it. So I think he's one of those classic characters that he didn't really have an arc, I don't think. I think he was just devious all through the centuries.
He was.
Of the different characters that he was. Different levels of stupidity, maybe. I think he became more cunning the older, as the series went on. But I think he was just always looking out for himself, didn't care about anybody else. He just wanted to either get money for himself or power or position for himself. So I think he's... But then you also root for him a little bit because he's very clever as well. He's wily like a fox.
Well, he thinks he's clever.
I suppose, well... I wouldn't say he's got the level of like Laurel and Hardy where they're both as thick as each other, but they both think that I suppose Hardy thinks he's clever and Laurel just doesn't know what clever means.
Well, he doesn't think, does he?
No. Whereas, you're probably right in that Blackadder does think that he's the cleverest person in the room, where he's probably not most of the time. Stig, what's your reason?
Very much the same, really. I always enjoyed how, despite the fact that he was a dick, and there's just the glares of contempt for people, the put downs, they often say things that went over people's heads, but us as an audience, it didn't go over our heads. So it was just funny watching him be a dick. But also at times there was a little bit of heart and sentiment in there as well. And it just kind of got you kind of rooting for him as well, even if he was, like you said, at the end of the day, it's just a shit.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that British comedy characters, they all seem to have, or the good ones always had that same trait, that they're not perfect. They don't look perfect. They don't act perfect, but you sort of root for them. You you always root for. Is it the anti-hero or the person that's got life against him, if you like, and you always seem to have that.
Yeah, I think British shows have always been better at showing the flaws for people and finding ways for you to connect to them more so than American shows, where a lot of them are anti-heroes or heroes are seen as tough guys, can't let the guard down. Where British shows they find a way for you to connect to characters.
Yeah. And I think it's also because like the British do like to wallow in our own self-pity. The fact that we're just so bad at stuff and we'll never amount to anything. And okay, so your number 9 is Blackadder, Stig.
Yep.
So Neil, on to your number 9 then, please.
So it's Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy. Now, it took me a long time to watch Sons of Anarchy, and I thoroughly enjoyed it when I did. And he's what we would say is you're always rooting for him, but he's pretty of a ruthless git. Well, he's a bastard, isn't he? He'll shoot. Are either of you watched this?
Yes, I've seen it all. Yeah.
I've not, but I know all about it because again, my wife and my daughters are massive fans of this. So
I really enjoyed the series. You know, it's great, and he has no qualms of shooting somebody if they piss him off or anything like that. You know, murder is just flippant in his world. And I just found him quite cool, to be honest. A great soundtrack, always accompanied him wherever he went. And well, it made Charlie Hunnam a bigger star, didn't it? I mean, he wasn't really a star before. I don't know what else really to say about him, that he's just the bastard that everybody loves, especially the ladies. It's good. But also, Sons of Anarchy is the most bizarre show because it's extraordinarily violent, yet there was the worst swear words that ever came out of their mouth is shit. And you can imagine in a situation where they're having a big shootout, whether it's, you know, against whatever, a rival gang or anything, I'm sure they wouldn't just be going, shit, he nearly hit me. There'd be a few more cuss words.
Just an American thing, isn't it? The violence is fine, but you can't swear.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, Neil, it's not a documentary. Neil, it's not.
No, but it's just
okay. I just want to make sure.
You sure
it is true though. Sometimes you just think you would just be bleating all over the place right now.
Yeah, especially you know, your best friend's just been beating the shit out of with a massive stick, and you're not saying, you know, there's no expletives coming out your mouth. You're not saying anything, and it's very noticeable in that series. You know, very noticeable, especially when it's supposed to be about like Hell's Angels type gang that's riding around on their motorbike. I'm sure they weren't just like, you know, I say, grand view out the side there.
I think the loyalty part of his character as well is what kind of draws you to him as well.
It does.
Rather than just being cool, like he's a very loyal person.
Yeah.
I think he's also somebody that he's a good person that's been born into a violent world.
Yeah.
Hasn't he? So he's sort of like, he has to act the way he doesn't want to shoot people, I'm pretty sure, but it's all that thing
I'm
about
sure
family.
There's a few that he enjoys.
I know, but like his gang are his family, aren't they? So not only you've got people that are going to be fighting against them, every family has people that turn against each other, or you know, all right, in a normal family you wouldn't shoot them in the face, I suppose, but I mean, it depends what part of the country you come from, didn't it? I suppose. But you know what I mean, it's sort of like he didn't have any say into being born into that life.
No.
And you can't really walk away from it, I suppose. I think at the point of that, didn't he try and walk away from it and then realize that there was he couldn't do that, and then he sort of sacrificed, spoilers, he sort of sacrificed himself at the end, didn't he? He's had no real way of getting out.
No, that's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he certainly did. It's a very, very good scene, actually, the end, when he's trying to get away from it. It's very good.
And wasn't it Michael Chiklis that played the lorry driver that mowed him down, I think, if you find.
Oh, I don't.
Because the guy that did the series also did The Shield.
Yeah.
And if you look, I'm pretty sure that and again, this is massive spoilers for Sons of Anarchy if you're planning on watching it, but the lorry is being driven by Michael Chiklis. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to have a little
look.
I didn't know that at all.
I will put that scene in the video playlist for our Patreon supporters so that you can see. So there you go.
Nice.
My number 9, again, not all of my top 10 are British comedy characters, but it's David Brent. I think David Brent, I don't think he is the sort of person that you root for. Maybe a couple of times in the series but I think everything that happens to him because it's what he wants. Even the bad thing, he wants to be famous. You laugh at him more than laugh with him. But there are a couple of times when you feel a little bit sorry when he gets sacked. Spoilers again. There'll be spoilers. We'll talk about shows. I'm sure we're going to talk about loads. And I think that with someone like David Brent, comparable to Michael Scott, the American version of The Office, I think you fall in love with Michael Scott because he is just a silly doofus that loves his staff, whereas David Brent would throw all of them under the bus if he could, because if it meant he got an extra little bit of screen time on this documentary that the BBC are making. So I think even more so for the film. I don't know if you guys seen Life on the Road.
I've not managed to watch it yet for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I like it. I don't like it as much as the TV series, but again, he gets another chance of fame, and he throws everything at it, money wise and everything. But everybody else around him takes advantage of him, and they don't really like him until the end. And the normal sort of Ricky Gervais thing, where there's that little tinge of humanity and emotion that he's sort of very good at doing that kind of little thing. There's normally a scene or two in each of his series or films that does that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think in regards to David Brent.
Well, I mean, I'm famously, I'm not a huge fan of The Office,
No.
the English Office. I just found David Brent too annoying to enjoy it, I have to say. I mean, I loved Ricky Gervais, but yeah, that one didn't do it for me. So I've only ever watched it once.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Stig?
No, I agree. I love The Office. I think I'm more partial to the US one as time went on.
Yeah, I'm
but
the same.
yeah, I agree with what you said about David Brent. He's an arrogance there, and he obviously thinks he's better than everyone else, but he's a very, very flawed man. Very flawed.
I think everybody that's worked in maybe like an environment that's got a lot of people knows a boss like that. I know. I've had a couple of bosses in my time. When he says things, you think, "My God, that's exactly like David Brent." You know, you can just reminds you of sort of people that you remember, middle management people that want to be one of the gang, but they can't be one of the gang. You know, yeah. I think everybody probably knows somebody like that.
Yeah.
Right then, Stig, your number 8, please.
My number 8 is Malcolm Tucker from The Thick of It.
That's my number 2. Number 2.
Yeah, he is brilliant. Very sweary, very rude, a horrible man to everyone around him, but you can't help but love him for it. I don't know what it is, but there is something really fun about just watching a man tear through people with the most any insult, the most inventive insult you can think of, he will come up with. There's just times where he's literally made me spit out my drink with it, all of a sudden just come out with something and it hits you out of nowhere. He's absolutely brilliant. And I think one of the strongest things regarding his character is I never got the sense that you knew what political party they were in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So you never knew whether he was either working for the Tories or Labour or any other government. It kind of kept that ambiguous. And I think that really helped you endear to his character, because there was never that thing in the back of your mind of, oh, I don't really like those politicians. So I don't really like him because he's, you know, if you're anti-Tory, it's like, I don't really like him because he's a Tory, that kind of thing. But it's just the way he went about things, like horrendous. You could never, ever work somewhere like that. But just watching it as a TV show is just, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
It was always when, like you say, when he went off on people. I think there was a scene when, was it Ollie? I can't remember exactly what it was, but the guy that was trying to bully Ollie, all of a sudden, he came in and I can't remember who it was, but Malcolm Tucker had him up against the wall and was saying to him, you know this and I know this, and if it gets out in the papers, then I know that you're the one that said it. And Ollie is around the corner, sort of going, or like, you know, the bully's bullying that bully. I did make a right. I'll be with you in 2 shakes of a crying baby. That was a good one. Do you know 90% of household dust is made of dead human skin? That's what you are to me. Great one. I've never seen anyone look so fucking ugly with just one head. Here's another great one. And if you're not a prostitute or a pizza boy, fuck off. Yeah, I love him. I love him. He's the guy that you want in your corner, and you don't want to be staring in the eyes of an angry Malcolm Tucker.
Oh yeah,
Shadow of a doubt.
I just made a note from some of my notes here, just saying if you're in his targets, then R.I.P.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he's violently eloquent, is what I love about it. It's like everything, and he has that confidence that he is the smartest person in the room. He knows everything that's going on. So if someone tries to bullshit him, you know, look at the very first episode when he goes in to see the head of whatever department it is. And he's saying, no, we're right behind you. We're right behind the guy's going, oh, thank God. You know, I really thought I was in trouble. And he goes, well, yeah, well, that's why you got to go, isn't it? And what? He said, well, yeah, that's why, you know, I've already spoken to the PM. There's your letter. You just need a resignation. You just need to sign it. So the guy thinks he's safe. Yeah, it's fantastic. That's a show that I'll have on repeat so many times.
I have a confession to make. I completely forgot about it.
Neil, how can you forget about Malcolm Tucker?
Well, exactly.
Hang on,
it's the lists, man. You know, there's so many. I'm sure you guys will mention one. I'll just think, oh, fuck.
Yeah,
that's the trouble. That's the trouble.
To say, I'm really pissed off about that one.
I think Malcolm has something to say about that.
Oh, he'll be back, like the shit Terminator.
Yeah, you'll be back. Like the shit Terminator. Go on then, Neil. You're number 8.
So it's Game of Thrones, and it's Tyrion Lannister.
That's my number 5.
Is it really?
It is.
Peter Dinklage. Well, there you go. This is a prime example when you say TV anti-hero, because there's not a lot to like about the little fella to begin with, and he works his way through to become.
Can you say that, the little fella? Can you say that, Neil? Will I have to edit that out?
I didn't. I meant it didn't. I forgot. Actually. I didn't mean it like that. But he is, isn't he? We can't deny facts, can we? Hey? Have I put my foot in it yet again?
Fucking hell. I mean, it's normally like every 5 episodes, Neil, so you've done well.
It's fine. But he wasn't he? He was the epitome of what we say an anti-hero is, really, if you watch the arc of him in there. But I just think Peter Dinklage made this character probably my favorite character in the whole series. There you go. What he was up to. Sorry, sir.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's up there.
Like, yeah, definitely for me. I think Peter Dinklage made him so good, so watchable. He did it so well, being the shit to doing good and things like that. You know, he was the one that was involved in a family that were complete wankers and arseholes that had a bit of humanity tucked away underneath him. And didn't we all just love it when he killed Charles Dance as his dad? I thought, yes. Fucking
on the shitter as well.
Yes.
On the shitter.
The scene in it's like a courtroom scene where he just goes off on him.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like, just amazing acting at that time. But yeah, just Tyrion's brilliant, and he always showed how clever he was compared to his brother and sister. They thought they knew better. It's like, oh well, you know, you're a dwarf and we're fully grown and beautiful and everything, and you know nothing, and you just be like, no, I know everything. Like, that's, I mean, he says it, doesn't he? I drink and I know things.
That's it.
Yeah, and
he picked his news up from the whorehouses and everything, didn't he? So he knew what was going on everywhere. Yeah, great character, and I think Peter Dinklage is a fantastic actor, just generally anyway.
Yeah,
he really is a good actor.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily have had Jaime Lannister, but I think the way that his story finished, I was so disappointed because I'm sure everybody thought that, spoilers again, that he was going to kill Cersei, and that seemed like the natural thing for him to do. So him to not do that sort of like just lowered my expectation of him and lowered my final thoughts about him. But with Tyrion, again, he starts off as a selfish person that all he did was drink and fuck, and that was it. That was all he did. And then sort of learned how to care about people.
Yeah.
And that's where he was at the end. And then in the end, I think he was the key to the whole
Everything,
thing
right?
at the end,
Yeah.
wasn't he? I mean, it was his decision to have.
I mean, he chose the worst option for the throne.
Absolutely, he did. Yes, that is true. That is true. So, in fact, it's all his fault that it was a complete fuck up at the end. But there you go. You can't have everything, can you? But yeah, so that was my number 5. My number 8, well, it can only just be now a TV anti-hero, and it is Loki from the show Loki.
Well, that's my number 7.
Oh, I say, well,
Yeah.
Didn't even think about Loki.
Yeah, I thought because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's
It's a good one. That
he's the god of mischief.
Mm.
And now that there's the Marvel TV series on Disney Plus, he's now a TV anti-hero.
Well, I didn't think about it until they announced they're doing a second series, and then I thought, oh my God, I forgot about him.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think he is. I mean, he is obviously mischievous all through the series. But again, his arc in it is where he is only out for himself to start with. He's causing as much mayhem as he can. But then he decides that he's got things to fight for, and he's got people that he wants to protect. And then, in fact, he's got like the whole universe that he's in to protect, which again, I probably won't go into too much detail on that because it is a show that is still sort of going on. So watch it. It's one of the best Marvel TV series, in my opinion.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
And Owen Wilson is great in it. Yeah, it's a great series. But he's like you say, Tom Hiddleston brings that real glint of being a shit behind good.
Yeah,
He
he's
does
got
it
that
really
great
well.
smile, smile that has a lot of mischief behind it.
And a charmer as well.
Yeah.
You can understand being charmed by the man.
And he screen tested for Thor. Have you ever seen that screen test?
No, I don't think I
Have you never seen it?
I know he did, but I just cannot imagine him as Thor.
There's a screen test with him with sort of his hair is like blonde and wavy, and he's got a toy hammer, and he obviously hasn't got the muscles like Chris Hemsworth has, but he's there. Like, I think he's bare chested. I'll put that in the video playlist as well. But it's on YouTube. And he did a whole screen test because he screen tested to be Thor originally, but obviously never got the part. But
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Every day's a school day.
Indeed. I'm coming out. I'm banging all the facts out today. Goodness me. You got any more to say about it, Neil, Loki?
Well, I pretty much concur what you say. I mean, there's not a lot else you can say. You don't want to go into the spoiler realms because, like you say, it's an ongoing plot thing and people might not have caught up yet.
Yeah.
With this one, especially being so new. But yeah, I just think the character is wonderful from the movies. You know, he doesn't change into the TV series. It's great to see all other kinds. I am going to say this. There's loads of different Lokis. I'm not going to say how, where, and why. And it's great to see all of them in it. And it's just the mischievousness of him. Loved it in the films, love it in the TV series, and it's there for you to indulge yourself in and enjoy if you've not seen it.
Indeed. Thoughts, Stig?
Yeah, I agree. I love Loki. We actually did a spoiler series on it for our podcast as well. Like, we liked it so much. Completely agree with everything you said, really. And I also do like as well with how it sets up and progresses his arc, because the Loki at the start of the show isn't the one that we knew at the end of Ragnarok.
No, that's right.
The start of Infinity War.
Yeah.
And it's really good to see that arc from that 2012 Loki and into where he is now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then.
And he's had the best line in any arc as well. The Mewling Quim, I think.
Oh,
just
yes.
a fantastic line.
That was that thing. I'm sure I wasn't the only one at the cinema, like turning to my wife going, did he just say what I thought he said? He
Yeah.
he wouldn't have said that. We'll have to wait for
our host on that, Oodles on our D&D podcast, because he plays a little halfling. He's a proper little bastard. And he had to throw that line in once when we were doing a battle.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so that was my number 8. So Stig, your number 7 then, please.
My number 7 is Billy Butcher from The Boys.
Oh, that's my number 3.
I love Billy Butcher. He's what's not to love about him? Even the accent I've kind of become endeared to. But he's just not a bastard, but he's our bastard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's doing it for the greater good.
He is, and that's what I love about him. I know that, behind there's so much bravado, mean exterior, the put downs, and the excessive use of the C word. At the end of the day, he's trying to take down a bunch of fascists. And And how can you not get behind someone that's trying to take down fascists? Because that's what Vought and Homelander are. You know, out from the outside, everyone else sees them as this kind of fake, kind of red, white, and blue smile. You know,
Heroes,
we love,
aren't they?
yeah, we love you, we love America, we love the world, but they're not. And Billy Butcher knows this, and he's trying to take them down. And I am with him on that journey to take them down. And I think he's just an amazing character, and he comes out with some beautiful one-liners.
Yeah, and the way he takes some of the people out is just fantastic, I think. But also in series 3, and I'm not going to spoil because this is a new series on series 3, but I will say it's fantastic to find a little bit of backstory on him.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. You sort of get to understand a little bit more of why he is what he is. But I am going to say the C word. I think that man delivers the word cunt better than anybody else.
Yes, he does. He really
He's
does.
brilliant at it. He really is. I mean, I know it's every other word, but yeah, he's the man you want in your corner if you want to tell somebody off.
Yeah. Even like when he says it to his lad in season 2, she's like, don't be a cunt.
Yeah. But I have fallen in love with this series. To me, I think it's a fantastic series.
Yes.
It really is. It's
season 3 really went
the
up
ante,
there,
didn't it?
Yeah, really did. Yeah,
you see things that I thought I'd never see in my life. Let's put it that way. But yeah,
my wife's a massive fan of this, and I don't know why I've never.
This surprises me, Paul.
I know, because the bits I've seen of it. I mean, sort of literally up an alley. It's one of the scenes I saw. It wasn't the alley; it was up. It was something up. But yeah, it's ridiculous, some of the stuff that's on there. And I really feel like I need to. The trouble is, you'll find this with a lot of my. Again, my TV watching is the same as my music listening, and my film watching is that there are so many classic things that I've never watched and never listened to. And it'll go with the TV shows as well. And I think it's down to that being a lazy watcher again. And the fact that especially a lot of the older shows, again, were 22, 24 episodes, and there's 6 or 7 seasons, maybe 10 seasons. There's a lot of stuff to get in. I'll just go onto YouTube and watch Man of Recaps and get the season in like 3 minutes and then sort of try and go from there, really.
But this is where I found The Boys so refreshing. You've only got your 10 episodes.
Yeah.
But it sort of changed it, and it was just it's almost comic book violence, but it's ultra violence as well at the same time. It's gruesome, but it's not squeamishly gruesome.
I don't know. Some of the bits I saw were pretty.
Yeah, but I'm not turning away. When you watch some horror films and that,
I think isn't that because you get desensitized to it now with when we're living in the world of The Walking Dead, where people are slicing someone's head off.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is about The Boys. I just find it. Yeah. And I can be a little bit squeamish, but on The Boys, I've managed to cope all the way through it. And the other series I found the same was True Blood. That was very gory, but I managed to cope with that. But yeah, I watch a film like Irreversible, and you see a man getting his head smashed in with a fire extinguisher, and I literally had to turn away. And I'm a hardened horror fan and that sort of thing. But that one, I find it almost comic book. Well, it is comic book, isn't it?
It doesn't seem real. I think that's the thing with the violence, is that because it is from a comic book, it's a bit over the top and outlandish. Where, like you said, if you're watching a horror and you see someone get like a pencil shoved into their ankle, that's going to make you more squeamish than exactly, because you think it can really happen, isn't it, I suppose. But also I would highly recommend, if you've not seen them, is the little animated shorts. It's almost their version of like Love, Death and Robots. It's The Boys have done one, and they're really good. Have you seen those, Stig? I've not seen them ones, no.
They're like 5 minutes, 10 minutes long. They're really good.
Oh, right. I thought you meant like a little pair of animated shorts.
Yeah, that's it. They've just got 5 minutes.
The Boys written on them.
Yeah, The Boys.
Look at The Boys. Okay, Neil, so you said number 7, Loki.
I did.
My number 7 is from the US office, and it's Dwight Schrute.
Oh, I didn't even think about him.
I mean, because he is the villain of the show, but he's also got a heart to him.
For sure, he's got a heart.
Especially with the fact that obviously he idolizes Michael Scott, but he's got a friendship with Jim that he would never admit to. but there are times when he does let his guard down a little bit, only tiny little moments, and especially like at the end of the series as well. But there are times when he drops his guard down, and I feel it's that sort of thing where he needs Jim just to be able to ground himself, because sometimes some things he gets up to are just ridiculous, which is obviously what you need in a comedy show, and his character can be a little bit ridiculous and over the top, but they're just little slices of humanity in Dwight Schrute's life, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But not on the beet farm.
Not on the beet farm. no, or the bed and breakfast has at the beet farm. I don't know. I mean, like you said, Stig, you were a fan more of the US Office. What's your thoughts on Dwight?
Dwight's brilliant. I never even thought about him for anti-hero, really, because I just never really seen him as a hero or a villain. I guess kind of that makes sense, but I just think he's hilarious. I just love his over the top like approach to stuff like safety and how serious he's about everything being straight down the middle, and it's just, and like I say, his friendship with Jim is, and the way they bounce off each other is just fantastic.
You have to look at it. I was going to say, look at the point when I can't remember what Pam's boyfriend, what was his name? I don't know. But when he gets sacked because he attacks Jim, he comes back to the office. Well, I think it's actually when he goes to try and attack Jim. Dwight's the first one up there, but he has like some kind of nunchucks or something under the desk, ready to attack to sort of protect Jim. And that's sort of in those moments where he has to think without thinking, if you like, that's when you see his heroic moments. Or if somebody had a go at Angela, he'd be there to protect her straight away. So although he's very selfish in himself, like has to be top salesman, all that kind of stuff, when the shit hits the fan, he will be the first person that will stand in front of somebody to make sure they don't get hurt.
Very loyal.
Very loyal, yeah. Sometimes to his own detriment, and sometimes misguided, if you like, because sometimes Michael doesn't feel the same kind of loyalty to him. But I just think as a character, he doesn't necessarily have arcs. He just has little slivers of humanity, showing that he isn't the sort of guy that everybody thinks he is.
Yeah.
No, but then there's also
you see the heart. You see he's not totally soulless. Is that episode where he's sat in his car crying to REM "Everybody Hurts"?
Yeah, that's right.
And the wailing in the farm when they stay at the farm. You know he's got a heart and he gets hurt. So
Jim talks to him in the stairwell as well.
That's right.
And then he leaves, and he still thinks that Dwight still thinks he's there, and he sort of turns to go and put his hand on his shoulder, and obviously he's not there. So those little moments of weakness that not very many people see. But yeah, I thought that was my number 7. So Stig, your number 6, please.
My number 6 is Jack Bauer.
That is my number 6.
Actually, I thought he was just more of a down plain right hero. I didn't think he was an anti-hero, I have to admit.
So
he has to be.
But see, the reason I see him as an anti-hero is because while he is awesome in saving the day, like literally the day, he isn't a white knight. His personal philosophy is he'll do whatever it takes to protect the greatest number of people. If he has to kill, maim, torture, defy political bigwigs, defy his bosses, defy anyone above him to get the job done when he knows that he's in the right, he'll do that. He will go beyond what a hero should do to make sure that at the end of the day that the terrorists don't win. And that's kind of why I put him in there. But he is one of the kind of first heroes / anti-heroes that I really got into, because I watched 24, didn't watch the first series, and then everyone was talking about how good it was, and I watched from series 2. So I've kind of been there, and I went back and watched series 1 straight away. So I've been there near enough from the beginning, from when it first started, and he was like one of the first big ones for me on TV.
Yeah. It's what I call the original binge watch series, wasn't it? It was what started it all off, and Kiefer Sutherland was fantastic, but like you said, some of his means are so questionable. He can't be an all-out and out hero, to get the answers or the results that he wants. The fact that he doesn't give a shit if he has to torture somebody, albeit could it be the right or wrong person, he doesn't care. He's just going to do it to get the answers he wants, and that's what makes him dubious as just an all-out.
I'm pretty sure there's an episode where he just. I'm trying to rack my brains up. I'm pretty sure he literally just shoots somebody to show, straight away without even questioning him. It's just just shoots them so they know straight away means business.
Yeah. I remember that he killed his boss, didn't he?
Yeah.
His boss was on his knees in front of him, and the terrorist said, "Look, you either shoot him or we do something."
Oh, that was brutal.
And he's just. I mean,
he gets the silent clock.
Yeah. And the thing was, it was the end of the first series, the sort of twist in the end of the first series, and that was brutal, absolutely brutal. But myself and my wife, I think we watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, and it got obviously at the end, it's done in real time. But then we decided we're not going to watch it. We're just going to buy the videos, because then we can watch as many as we want. And it was before Netflix and stuff like that. So we just had to wait until they all came out on video. The internet wasn't really a thing, so I didn't have to worry about spoilers as such. So that's how we watched 24. We just bought the box set and then just watched them in a weekend.
Same as me.
Yeah, I went and bought the box set when I was drunk, when I was about 18. And I was in Tesco, around where I live used to be 24 hours. And one day I was just like, oh, there's 24 season 1 to 3 box set. Just went and bought it at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, that's the best time to buy stuff.
Yeah. £80 back then as well. Jeez.
I know, it's crazy, but it was a great. I think they brought it back, didn't they? But it didn't have Kiefer Sutherland, but it just didn't.
It was only 12 episodes
as well, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, it was definitely a thing of its time as well, because mobile phones weren't particularly they're not what they are now. It always made me laugh though, because Jack Bauer always used to ask people to trust him. He would just say, "Trust me, just trust me on this." And it'd be these real important people, and he's saying, "I need to run down the street in my underpants with some pink custard. Just trust me, and then go, "Okay, Jack, all right."
That's another show as well, like Neil had said earlier, about how all this stuff's going on, and he never swore. He only ever said, "Damn it."
Yeah.
He never swore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just found out that his wife and child have been kidnapped and everything, and it's just damn.
But wouldn't it have been great if it had got to the end, they found out that someone's been kidnapped, and it's getting to the end of the hour, and it's going 58, 59, and he goes, fuck, and then it stops. And he could have at least got away with it that way, couldn't they?
He should have done it on the very last episode of the series. Yeah.
Well, he could have done that, and then the very first bit of the next hour, with him going, "Kuh." That's the last bit of the
It's the way Fox could have got around the swearing thing.
Perfect, isn't it? Every single level, ball, and then the next one, ox.
See, I am tempted to. I know, but it's a lot of investment to watch them again. But they are on Disney Plus, aren't they?
They are. They are on Disney Plus. Yeah. I don't know how well they'd hold out though, because with technology of today,
if it's great story writing, it doesn't matter,
absolutely.
If you think about the movies that weren't set of today, and you still have the love of it, it's just it'll be interesting to go back, because it's been a while.
Yeah, it might be worth having a little look. Absolutely. And that was pre 9/11 as well, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
What years was it?
I think it started in 2001.
2001. I think it was just before.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there you go. Okay. My number 6 is Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's my number 4.
Oh, is it? There you go. I mean, I'm looking at it through the eyes of somebody that you think is a complete prick. And again, he can say what he wants. He sort of does what he wants. He normally gets his comeuppance pretty much, but it's just a lot of fun to watch him going through his life.
It is, and especially when he has his rants. Sometimes you're with him on the rants that he has.
Sometimes you're not, though.
No, quite often you're not.
Quite often you're not. And you're willing for him to get his comeuppance on a lot of the times. I think especially in the later episodes, the later series, he seems to be a lot more in the wrong
Yeah.
I don't know if,
Yeah.
if I'm reading that right.
No,
but-
no, it certainly is. He certainly, you actually wait for him to get his comeuppance in the later series, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, rather than before. You know, if you go right back to like series 1, the beloved aunt episode.
Yeah.
I just think it's comedy genius, and you actually feel for him a bit.
Yeah, because a lot of the times in the early series, it wasn't his fault.
No, like
like the
push
pants
up
tent and the stuff like that it's not his fault. And if he just sat the person down and explained it to them calmly, they go, "Oh, right, okay, I understand." And then, but it always seems to like get worse and worse and worse, which is the sign of good comedy, isn't it? It's what you want. You want it to get more and more ridiculous.
And I know me and you are the same fan of the uncomfortable comedy. I find that can be really, really funny, especially when you got people that watch it with you and they sit and go, "Yeah, I don't get this."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm roaring. No, yeah,
exactly.
It's even funnier.
What about
Have you
Stig?
never seen this, Stig?
Never seen it, and I do like uncomfortable comedy, and I know of it, and everyone says it's amazing, but
yeah,
I just haven't ever sat down and watched it for whatever reason.
Oh, I love them. I've got them. I've got all of them on box set up there, and yeah, I love it to pieces. It's something I can go back to and watch.
Yeah.
Same as The Thick of It, because I forgot that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shame on you on that, though, Neil.
I know. Well, Pav, it's only like the Life of Brian one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. You know, it happens.
Indeed.
But yes, I'd highly recommend, if you've never seen it, he really is a comedic anti-hero.
Yeah.
He really is. I mean, it's the epitome of what we were talking about, really.
Indeed. Right then, Stig, your number 5, please.
Number 5 is Saul Goodman / Jimmy McGill from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So the reason I picked Saul Goodman is, and people might disagree with me on this one, is I see Saul as an anti-hero in that world. I don't see Walter White as one. I see Walter White as a pure villain. And the reason is it's black and white for me that Jimmy is a man that you can get behind despite being a bit slippery, a con man. He's always kind of trying to take the shortcut, but he's sympathetic as well, and he's lovable at times. He clearly shows that he cares for people. You can see how much he loves his brother and Kim, even despite the fact that his brother is an absolute bastard to him. He still loves him, and it's what drives him to be who he is. But yeah, he's a rogue, but with a capacity for empathy, and I find that endearing. And plus, like, there's a lot of humor in some of the stuff that he does. But at the end of the day, yeah, he is a bit of a slimy character.
Mm-hmm.
If there hadn't have been Better Call Saul, would you still have that same? If you just saw what he's like in Breaking Bad, because in Breaking Bad he just seems to be a slimy lawyer.
It's Better Call Saul that's completely changed me on how I view him.
Right.
But I might be in the minority again, but I think Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad.
I need to watch it.
I've not seen all of it because it's finished now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tough go for the first couple of series because it's coming off Breaking Bad and you expect it to be like Breaking Bad, and it isn't. It's very much a bit of a lawyer show with him and his brother, and there's courtroom stuff in there. But as characters from Breaking Bad, like Gus Fring and Mike, and that start to appear in it, you then start to get into that world.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing characters in it that were never in Breaking Bad. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I need to. I've watched the first. I think I watched the first. How many series is there? 6, isn't it?
6, yeah.
Yeah, I've watched the first 3. I need to get back into it, I must admit. I did enjoy it, and I love Breaking Bad. So
I love Breaking Bad as well, but I just think this just tops it. And I think that's mainly down to Bob Odenkirk and Saul. Yeah.
Great one. Go on then, Neil. You're number 5.
Well, speaking of Breaking Bad, I have put Walter White at number 5.
Well, he's my number 3. So we're both going to disagree with.
He is the one that I thought had the arc of the anti-hero. You know, he started as the everyday teacher. Circumstances, I mean, I'm not going to sit and list all what happens, but circumstances turned him into the anti-hero, isn't it? You know, especially from the first series, with things that he's having to do, and you can see with pure uncomfortableness, in it. You know, we all remember the scene with the bathtub and all of that. It's just that to me was he was the first person I thought of when I was asked this question. You know, your top 10 anti-heroes, and Walter White was my first one. I thought, well, he is an anti-hero, isn't he? Especially all of his character arc throughout the whole series of what he does, what he gets to, and how it goes through. It becomes that, you know, especially the Heisenberg thing, you know, the split personality almost of what they are. Yeah, it is what it says on the tin to me.
Well, that was the thing about him. He started off with such good intentions that all he wanted was to be able to. He found a way, and he had the power is not the right word. He had the intellect to be able to make this thing that was going to make enough money that when he died would sort out his wife and his child, or his wife and children, if you like. But the trouble is, once he got into that, he started getting seduced by the dark side, if you like. He started getting seduced by this power and this other person that he became, where he didn't have to be Walter White anymore. He was Heisenberg, and he had all the power, and he was the one who knocked, and he fell in love with that. And I remember that very last episode when he's there with Skylar, isn't it? Skylar is his wife's name?
Yep.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, don't you start making excuses." And he's going, "I'm not." He said, "No, I loved it. I loved every minute of being Heisenberg." You know, and he got seduced completely by it. So it was that anti-hero journey, but it's more the other way around, where you turn from good to bad as opposed to being bad and then redeeming yourself. But
you say bad, but we still rooted for him.
You did. Well, I think you did to a point. I mean, you did, but then if you thought about it and you thought, right, he's selling meth.
Mind you, isn't that the epitome, like we said, of every anti-hero? Is their scruples of what you're looking at, isn't it? You know.
Well, no, because sometimes it's like if you like Malcolm Tucker, you want to be that person that would go into a room, fire fucks into everybody, and not give a shit about what anybody says to you or what they think about you. When you step back of it, the whole Hollywood of it all, I think, is like that Eisenberg is the guy that, he goes in and everybody's scared of him because of the name. But when you step back and you think, actually, all he is a drug dealer, and he is selling meth to kids, people that are going to die. He's a shit.
You're just describing a villain.
Exactly.
You are, and that's why we did an anti-hero one of our show like a year and a half ago or so, but it was like kind of broad scale, and Walter White was brought up, and we had this discussion. And at the time when you're watching it, you do kind of root for him, but when you finish watching it and you kind of reflect on it, he's not a good person.
He's not.
He could have stopped at any point. He had enough money to stop and see and get the treatment he needed and have enough money for his family afterwards, but he just got further and further into it, and by doing so just ruined everybody's life.
But that to me is the Eisenberg part. If you look at it, I will equate it to Star Wars. Walter White is Anakin Skywalker. Eisenberg is Darth Vader. He became that other person, and it's only like right at the end that he.
But would you class Darth Vader as an anti-hero?
See, now it depends which Darth Vader you're talking about.
The one who blows up planets.
But then
blows up planets.
But the arc again,
selling
the arc is there, and he does have a redemption right at the end. But I think just on the whole, I just think from the beginning, Walter White is a bell end. He's always looked down at everyone and looked down at Jesse and everyone else. And I did think about him, but I just kind of reflected on it and thought, actually, he's more of a villain. He's too far into villainy for me to put him there. But I understand why people see him as an anti-hero.
With the other anti-heroes we've had, though, Jack Bauer being questionable as that as well. The things that he does to get the good.
He does, but he's doing it to stop a nuclear bomb blowing a city up.
Yeah. But
I would say that Walter White's original intentions were good.
Yeah.
Even though the reason for it or the actual doing of it made him end up becoming a different person. Walter White, I would say, is an anti-hero. Eisenberg is the character that is the villain, if you like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he does kind of redeem himself a little bit at the end. He is more like Walter White because he's pathetic at the start of the series, right at the end of the series when it looks like, and he knows that he's on a suicide mission. He's pathetic then, but he does try and sort of tie all the loose ends up, try and protect his wife, and all that kind of stuff. And he knows what the end is going to be, I think. So I think that's my sort of rationale to it, is that Walter White is the anti-hero and Eisenberg is the villain. So
yeah, it's fair. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Stig.
No, I just think you could look at it both ways.
You can, absolutely can. But I think you can for a lot of the people on the list.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is definitely at least one more coming up on mine that you could do.
Yeah. I mean, Jax as well is another one, Sons of Anarchy. I mean, he is a lawbreaker and a murderer.
Yeah,
and
he sells guns, arms to the IRA and all sorts, isn't he? So
yeah. Okay, my number 5 was Tyrion Lannister. So back to you, Stig, for your number 4.
Number 4 is Homer Simpson.
I didn't. Right, here we go. We will have another little conversation about this then. Okay, why is he an anti-hero?
Because he puts himself first in nearly all instances over his families, friends, and strangers. He's constantly throwing fits about everything. He gets into shouting matches. He revels in the misery of Flanders. However, despite all that, there's been so many times where it's actually shown him as a loving husband, a father, and friend, where he's chosen to do the right thing over personal gains as well. Like those first 10 seasons of The Simpsons, I think get Homer so right. Now he's just an idiot. If you ever watch any new stuff, I think he's just shown as being a stupid buffoon. But there's more nuance and real heart behind the character in those, like specifically those first 10 series. He is a jerk and he is awful to people, but there is love there. There's plenty of times where you see him be a good person.
I always thought Homer, like you said, was an idiot, but his heart was always in the right place. To me, I mean, not so much probably like you made out in the later series, because he's become more of a jackass. Still funny, but he's just a jackass, isn't it? And people compare like Peter Griffin to Homer Simpson. Homer Simpson's got a lot more heart to me than Peter Griffin will ever have.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I just think that he is very selfish and loud and wants to be kind of the center of attention. I think there are episodes where he's a dick and there's episodes where he's like a loving person. I think it just kind of blends well together.
My God, selfish, loud, and a dick. I'm glad I'm not on TV. I'd be on someone's top 10 if that was the case. I mean, look, somebody else didn't put him in the honourable mentions, and when I saw that, I thought, well, really? Because I always thought a bit like Neil. He's a churchgoer. He loves his family. When even he gets into certain situations with Larlene, when he said, "Oh, we're gonna have sex now, aren't we?" and he stops himself because of Marge.
When he hears the Hoover.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I could see.
I suppose you could put it in there, isn't it?
He does do things like where he holds the whole court and law up because he wants to have a free night in a hotel and get free stuff. Like he's holding everything up because he wants to have this free stuff.
Yeah,
he does do little things like that as well.
No, he does. You are right.
But is that intentional? I mean, is it just that his mind is always wandering? Think about when he goes back to college or uni and he's sat there and suddenly you just hear him go, "Oh, squirrel," and then all you see him is running around the tree. Is that just not sort of? It's the distraction rather than.
I don't know. It's an interesting choice. It's an interesting.
I can understand it. I really can.
Yeah,
I can understand it.
Controversial, Stig. Well done. Okay, Neil, for number 4, you said Larry David.
I did.
For me, number 4 is another British comedy legend. It's Basil Fawlty.
Yeah.
Another one, really, mainly because of the way he acts and treats people. He always thinks he's better than everybody else. Again, he thinks he's the smartest person in the room when he's definitely not the smartest person in the room. He likes to bully people. But you also know just what a henpecked husband he is. And, I'm not being disrespectful, but every husband knows what that feels like. No one here is going to say anything by the sounds of it. So I got like,
Well,
it's the hill I'm
it's
going to
been a
die
while
on.
since I was a husband, so I've forgotten.
But I think it's one of those, again, it's a British comedy staple of having this somebody who thinks he's of a class that he is better than everybody else. Has little, I mean, again, the way he treats his guests, sometimes you're in those moods where you just want to talk to people like that. You just want to treat people like that and have no comeback on it. But he never seems to win. Even when he thinks he's going to win, he doesn't win. Even whether it's putting money on a horse, he's for 1 minute he's like £10 up on the deal, and something happens, and I don't think there's ever an episode where he actually wins at the end of Faulty Towers.
I don't think there is
Of the 12 episodes, I don't think there's ever one where it actually works out well for him. So, I wanted him in my top 10. Okay, so that was my number 4. Stig, your number 3, please.
Right, this is going to be an odd one because
Oh.
but this is just for me personally, and because I grew up around it and watching it. My number 3 is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
I had to suddenly think, hang on, Steve Austin.
He's not the $6 million man.
No, I suddenly realised the wrestler.
Pro wrestler, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
Because this is TV technically.
You're
TV.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Because he's just fantastic. He did bad guy things, but everybody loved him for it because of who he was doing it to. And his biggest rivalry within his time in wrestling was Vince McMahon, his boss.
Right.
And he got to beat up and chase his boss around. And it's basically living everyone's dream. No, he got to be the anti-authority person, but he did it by doing things that were very illegal. If this happened outside of the world of wrestling, he'd be in jail, probably lifetime in jail for the stuff he did. The property destroyed, home invasion, pulling a gun out on Vince McMahon, even though it was a prop gun, he didn't know at the time. He filled Vince's car with concrete, and like this, all the stuff they did as well. They actually filled a Corvette full of concrete and let it just tipple over. He blew his rival's bus up. He wrecked a shop, beating people up, and it was just so much fun watching somebody be such a hellraiser.
Yeah,
and doing all these things that us as regular people, we can't get away with doing this, but because it's in the world of pro wrestling, they can get away with it, and it's fun to watch. And he was just a badass, really, watching it. So
was he the biggest baddie wrestler of them all then?
He's a goodie.
Oh, he's a goodie.
Yeah, like that's the point. He was what is known as a babyface, a good guy in wrestling.
Right.
That he did baddie things, but because of who he was doing it to, everyone loved him.
Right. Okay.
Like they did turn him into a bad guy at one point, and everyone hated it.
Oh, right.
But yeah, to me, he's like one of my favorites of all time. And yeah, you don't get like a crowd pop like you get with Steve Austin because everybody loved him.
Right.
Despite the fact that he was a absolute bastard.
We've said it before. I think we're a different generation when it comes to wrestling, because that was like 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When the height of like WWE and.
I mean, I still watch now, to be honest. I've been watching since like 1990.
Right.
I had a little bit of a period where I went off it, but now there's stuff again that's actually really good.
We were the wrong generation, pal. I think we probably would have loved it if it was around when we were younger, but
it was like
our wrestling was a lot different.
The wrestling that it was a lot different. Yeah.
Talk of the playground when I was when it was in the late 90s. So
I mean, we could have been wrestlers in the era that we were watching, Neil, couldn't we?
Yeah, easily.
Just a leotard and we were well away.
Yeah.
I had to throw him in there. He's just one of my favorite TV characters.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I'll say a great choice. I have no idea, but a great choice.
Yeah. Neil, you had Billy Butcher from the Boys.
I did, you cunt.
Number 3. I had Walter White, Breaking Bad at number 3. So, Stig, we're back to you for your number 2, please.
Okay, my number 1 and 2 flipped a lot this week.
Okay.
But I've finally settled on it. My number 2 is Tony Soprano.
Right.
Okay.
So Tony, he could be seen as the villain. He does a lot of villainous things, but but I think what makes him an anti-hero is, unlike a lot of other mob bosses you see in media, we are shown how vulnerable he is from the get-go. He's riddled with anxiety and issues, and the fact that he's going to a therapist when, in a mob boss shouldn't go to a therapist, shouldn't be seen to be weak and have issues, but there's a lot of complex issues with him, and I think that's what kind of makes him more of an anti-hero, is that you can actually get behind him because he's got all these issues. He's not just a horrible guy at the top who's ordering everyone to be killed. I mean, he does do those things, and he can be horrible at times, but I think that because you're let into, sounds a bit corny, but let into his soul a bit more than you do with a lot of these kind of characters, that's where the anti-hero side comes into it.
Yeah, I have to say, I've never watched The Sopranos, yet I knew this would be high on someone's list, whether it's yours or Neil's.
I've never finished the series.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
no,
I just knew
it's my favorite series ever.
And so I don't think there's anybody I've ever met that has said to me, if I said, "Have you seen The Sopranos?" Nobody's ever gone, "Oh, that's shit." They've always either said, "I've never seen it," or "It's the greatest TV show I've ever seen." So I need to, again, it's that thing. I think there are 24 episodes in a series, and then there's 8 series, 10 series maybe. So I think wasn't the last series
7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, the last series had only about 12 episodes in, didn't it? I think, because I think our missus had all these on DVD or blue or DVD, Blu-ray or whatever, and she was a massive fan of it. But
it's a bit like The Wire, isn't it? In the sense
that's another one.
Exactly, that everybody raves about, but you never hear anybody say it was shit.
No. So I'm surprised, Neil, because I must admit I thought that would have been your number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, well, the reason I couldn't is because I've never finished all the series.
When you were both quiet, I thought, oh, maybe this is their number 1, and I could have. When I put it number 1, we'd have a triple number 1. But now
it's not for want of trying. Like Pav said, the amount of episodes that you have to get through, it's still being watched, shall we say? But I maybe haven't gone back to it.
It's really funny going back and watching though, because it started in like '99. The first thing that they do is like steal a truck of DVDs, and they're like DVD players, and they're like, look at this new high tech like equipment, DVD players, and these huge TVs. Still, it's quite funny watching it back.
I've said it a million times. I can't wait till we get the Matrix moment where we can just get a chip, put it in the back of our head, and then we've seen everything that we want to see, and it just just download it to our brain. It'll be fantastic. Go on then, Neil. You're number 2.
So it's another cartoon character, and it's Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan. I think this is one of the finest new animations out. Bloody hilarious. But anyway, so we've got old Grandpa Rick takes his grandson Morty and treats him like complete and utter shite. He takes him to places where he's having sex with aliens. He's doing things that are totally questionable in front of this child.
Oh, geez.
But but it is, you still root for him to come back and, fix the problem of whatever's going on. And I just think he's so funny. The things he comes out with, the swear words, And Rick and Morty is also one of these very funny shows that if you listen to the conversations that the other characters are having in the background, it's shocking what they're saying. They're really out there to put things, the cat amongst the pigeons. But yeah, Rick Sanchez, to me, he's a complete vile person. But yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I need to get back into watching that, because I watched the first series and again thought it was brilliant, but there's just like no time to watch all of this stuff.
Well, at least these are only like 20 minutes long. You can watch them in your lunch break and that.
Yeah,
and I have to say, I found the new series, they include all the swearing. They don't bleep it like they did in the original series, and I actually think it's funnier when they were bleeping it. You know exactly what they're saying. You don't need to hear it. Just made it funny. If does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that, because that's like what South Park used to be like. They used to bleep the swearing in South Park, and now they don't. And I always found it funnier that they would bleep it out, because like I said, we know it. So why are you bleeping it out? It's but still.
Yeah, but Rick Sanchez, legend.
Okay.
Especially Pickle Rick.
Oh, Pickle Rick.
I love Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick. I wonder if I still got that on my thing. I used to have that on the
I was actually bought a plush Pickle Rick that's about 2 foot high, and wide, and yeah, from one angle it looks like something completely different. But it is
I still got it.
still probably one of the greatest animated episodes ever.
Oh dear. Okay, my number 2 was Malcolm Tucker. So before we reveal our number ones, Stig, you want to give us a countdown from number 10 to number 2, then Neil will do it, and then I'll do it.
Yep. So number 10, Ragnar Lothbrok. Number 9, Blackadder. 8, Malcolm Tucker. 7 was Billy Butcher. 6, Jack Bauer. 5 was Saul Goodman. 4 was Homer Simpson. Number 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And number 2, Tony Soprano.
Wonderful. Neil?
So Spike from Buffy, not Tom and Jerry. Number 9, Jax Teller. Number 8 was Tyrion Lannister. Number 7, Loki. Number 6, Jack Bauer. Number 5, Walter White. Number 4, Larry David. Number 3, Billy Butcher. And number 2, Rick Sanchez.
Wonderful. Mine was number 10, Edmund Blackadder. Number 9, David Brent. 8 was Loki. 7, Dwight Schrute. 6, Larry David. 5, Tyrion Lannister. 4, Basil Fawlty. 3, Walter White. And 2, Malcolm Tucker. So, Stig, what is your number 1 TV anti-hero?
My number 1 is Omar Little from The Wire.
There you go.
Yep.
There you are, the non-cussing man.
Yes. So what makes him such a good anti-hero is he is a shotgun-toting, whistling, stick-up man, and he just caused havoc to the gangs of Baltimore and The Wire. He's like the ultimate anti-hero, in my opinion. He's a man who, despite committing crimes himself, has conviction. He was a sensitive person. He cared for his grandma. And he lived by sticking to a code. So whilst all the other criminals are out there not kind of caring about the streets, not caring about people, selling drugs, gunning people down, ruining lives, he made sure that no civilian got hurt. He only targeted the bad people. And to the point where every time he appeared on the street whistling, you would have people running away, and he had his own calling card. People would shout, "Omar, come in." And they knew if you hear Omar come in, get inside, get away, because shit's about to go down. Like if the gangs were causing shit and Omar heard about it and thought, I need to do something about it, he'd go and do it. And this is a slight spoiler for the show, but it also broke new ground because Omar was a homosexual character in the show. And it was a character in a show that was rooted in like toxic masculinity, like, street gang culture. And he had everything about him that you wanted to root for, but also while gunning people down.
So he sounds a little bit like the gunslinger going into, like in the cowboy times, going into a town when everybody they know that something's going to happen.
That's what it was, and that's kind of what the whistling was about.
Right.
You kind of walk down the street, shotgun was on full display, and whistling because it was, I'm coming.
Right.
Get out the way. Yeah.
Wow.
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
See, more TV we have to watch. Just don't know how we're going to do it.
Listen,
if only there could be another lockdown, then that'd be great. If you can have like 15 weeks off again, just watch all the.
We could still be like Beijing or something that's like in their 900 and something day of lockdown. We
could do. Yeah, be careful what you wish for. Isn't it? Go on then, Neil. Your number 1 TV anti-hero.
Now I'll put a little bit of bet on this. I reckon I've got the same number 1 as you, Pav.
Oh, do you reckon?
I reckon.
Go on
The
then.
Mandalorian.
Oh, it is. Yes.
Yeah, my new favourite show. It's a fantastic TV show.
Din Djarin himself.
It is. I mean, he's basically a hired killer, aren't they? They are. You see the arc brilliantly in this when he gets the child, and you see a touch of humanity come about him. And this
it's
is
the wolf and the cub, isn't it? That's what.
Yeah. It's that arc that it's almost a beautiful thing in this show to me. The introduction of the child, and then through all of the episodes is just this arc of change, of seeing somebody do the right thing for a change. And this encapsulates that fantastically. I don't know whether you agree with that, Pav.
Well, he gives up everything for the child. He gives up his creed. He gives up his way of life because he takes his mask off, which he's never supposed to do. So the moment when, again, spoilers if you've not seen it, when Luke Skywalker comes and takes the child away to train him or her, I suppose you don't know whether it's a him or her, he takes his mask off so that he can, to quote Return of the Jedi, look at him with his own eyes.
Yeah.
And he's not supposed to do it. And because he does that, he's no longer a Mandalorian. He's no longer part of that creed. So he gives up everything for the child. But it is a beautiful thing.
It is.
From somebody
really
that is just there for the money. That's all he wants. He wants that. So he turns his back on his way of life and everything, and it's just him and the kid. So yeah, I think just as a I've said it a million times. The actual production design of the Mandalorian, that character is fantastic. I'm surrounded by him in this room.
Yeah, it's something to behold, isn't it? It's
everything about him. Got his helmet up there and everything. So it is
and
fantastic.
Be as excited for the third series now.
Absolutely,
as strong as the other two. We're in for a glorious time. Are you a fan of this? Steve?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, loved it. It's just telling that like the Boba Fett show, the best 2 episodes were the ones that had him in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said about his journey from where he starts to where he is now. I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
kind of just thinking maybe I should have put him on my list.
Well, too late now, mate.
Yeah, too late.
We had a few honourable mentions. At Rodders J04 said Tony Soprano, this film-loving gabagool enthusiast. At And Why Not Pod said Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm. All 4 main characters in Seinfeld. Dr. Gregory House, Red Foreman from That 70s Show, Stephen Toast from Toast of London.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, the Devil, as played by Ray Wise in Reaper. Homer Simpson from The Simpsons. Jackie Rohr, City on the Hill. Patty Hughes, Damages, and Edward Fitzgerald from Cracker. That is 10 in no particular order. At Johnny Revachol, seconding Brent, also Blackadder. At Gadget the DM, it's got to be Billy Butcher. Janae Valdez said the Joker and Catwoman. Now I'm a little bit. Would you class the Joker as an anti-hero?
No,
not in TV. He's a villain, isn't he?
Yeah, I would say.
The TV series, he doesn't do any redeeming good. I mean, if you think about the TV series, well, I suppose the animated, I don't know well enough.
Controversial that one. At Oodles OD
that's our host of our podcast.
Wolf from Gladiators.
I saw him post that. I was like, that's brilliant.
That was hell of a clip. That was hell of a clip.
He was a villain.
I've never seen
people
anybody
love cheering him on.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody powder their hands with so much aggression as on that on that gif there.
I always remember I did admire him a lot more when he pushed John Fashanu over.
Yeah.
People loved it. People loved him the same way I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's the bad boy.
He was the pantomime villain of the piece, wasn't he? Yeah. Lisa Buchanan, hello Lisa. Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal Lecter. Peek into the depths of my soul, she says. Kim Mendes, Fiona Gallagher from Shameless, and Nancy Botwin from Weeds. And Chris Wellenger said Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So thank you very much, everybody, for your honourable mentions. That's it. We've done it. So, Stig, what have you got coming up on Modern Escapism?
If you head to our website, it's modernescapism.co.uk. Everything's on there for all 3 podcasts. As we record this weekend, we're actually meeting up in person.
Wow.
So this is the second time we'll have all met together. And
that's so 2018, that is, isn't it? I mean, it is.
Well, I mean, we are a pandemic podcast, so we started in the pandemic.
Good.
We as soon as we could do a meetup when it was allowed, we did it. Unfortunately, Oodles got COVID, so he couldn't come to that one. But fingers crossed that in the next 2 days, nothing happens to us all, and we'll all be getting drunk and recording some podcasts from Friday to Saturday.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Well, we'll put the website and a link to the podcast in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, mate. That was lots of fun.
Having me on.
You'll have to come back for the movie anti-heroes, I think. You have to do the two for it, don't you? You have to do one, you got to do the other.
Part 1 and part 2, yeah.
Absolutely. Go on then, Neil. Tell everybody how they can get in touch and all that gubbins.
Okay, so if you want to tell us or ask us any questions, email us at toptenpods@hotmail.com. You could even give us ideas for lists yourselves. You can find us on all the social medias at Top 10 Pods. Do give us a click, give us a like, or whatever it is you do. Come and help support the podcast at patreon.com/top10pods. There's all sorts of rewards where you could even be a guest yourself. Check out all of our links via the Linktree. You can find the link in the show notes. And please do come, subscribe, click, leave us a review, a rating, wherever you get your podcast from.
Wonderful. And also remember the video playlist that will go with this episode will be on our Patreon as well. Thank you once again, Stig, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Stig. Thank you, Pav.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And let's go start the count.
10, 9,